Welcome to Life Passages, The Soul's Journey. I'm really glad you're with us today. We're going to speak about the very deep subjects of living and dying. It's what we're all here doing. And we have with us Jennifer Hart, who has written a book, Marley Rides. That is the title of our show, Marley Rides. It's a book about her son's living and dying. Her son lived very well in a short period of time, and then at the age of 16, he got cancer, was it?
15.
15. And so then how many years did you have with him before he died?
Well, they gave him 6 months to live, and he thought he would challenge all the doctors, and he lived to be 18 and a half.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Powerful. What a journey, though, for you. Well, how was that whole journey from the moment of diagnosis through to the grieving after he passed?
Well, I think when you become a parent, you're not thinking about the fact that your child might die before you.
That's right.
So it was quite a shock.
Yes.
There's a kind of an assumption that if we're here, we're going to stay alive. Death, you don't want to look at death.
Yeah, we think that's maybe for somebody in their 80s or 90s.
Yeah, exactly. And Marley had a way of looking at life a little upside down. So he led us on a journey of seeing a diagnosis of terminal cancer as like, it's no big deal. You know, it's no big deal. I want an ATV. I want a bigger horse. I want to live bigger because it might go away.
So his response to it was living bigger.
Now.
More.
Fuller.
Now. And this is a picture of Marley. I don't know if we're showing this at the moment, but as the cameras pan out, then those of you watching can see a big photograph of Marley.
And actually, that's a good example of who Marley was, because he had, I think towards the end it was like 18 different tumors, all eating away different parts of his body.
Really? In such a short time?
Yes. And this painting was taken...
it is like a painting. It's a photo?
Well, actually, it's a photo. But it was taken 6 weeks before he died, and it's at a cattle roundup. So you can tell, even though he didn't have a hip, he didn't have a knee, he had... We won't even get into what started disintegrating in his body, but he kept going and going and going.
Amazing. So he lived to the full, right up to the end.
He dragged us all along with him. And he was a good teacher. And
so what did you learn from him through that whole journey?
Live big now.
Live big now.
And that's a really important thing.
Yes, it is. Living while we have the life to live.
While we have a chance. I mean, I'm assuming that I'm going to walk out of here today, but I could have a heart attack right now. Might as well.
Yes.
Do it big. Love big.
Love big, live full, love full. Beautiful.
And their authenticity, I think, is the next biggest one. If I'm going to hurt, let me hurt. Let me express it. If I want to be excited, let me laugh loud.
So not hiding and holding in. That wasn't his way.
No.
And what a great teacher then, just as you say.
It was part of the journey he took us on through those 3.5 years was relying on a network.
What do you mean by relying on a network?
Well, if you were diagnosed with cancer, you have a couple of choices. One is to suffer alone, do that process alone, or start relying on your friends. And I have a big family, so my way of communicating with that family was to do email. We used the digital communication system.
And it probably worked great because you could instantly, quickly reach so many people all at once.
And they would forward the letters.
Okay.
And they would forward the letters. So the network became very large, very quick, and many people that we had never met, all of a sudden were writing back.
Wow.
We're with you. We're with you. And it
Wow,
was
that
like,
must have
oh,
felt
that's
great.
so cool.
Wow, what
Yeah.
a lot of support then you must have felt.
And that's really important. That's one of the biggest lessons that I learned is not to do life alone.
That's a good one.
And you have more fun when you play with other people.
That's right.
And the death process tends to be more heartfelt when family.
When it's shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was with a friend who was dying, not this summer, but the summer before, and she came from a very big family, 14 kids. She was the oldest. Ooh. And so during the last day or two of her life, people had come, all her brothers and sisters and their families had come to be at her home, and they stayed around there as well. And so when I walked in the day that she was actually dying, I didn't, you never know quite when.
Right.
There were like 28 kids all running around, but they were wonderful, and they were all dressed up like for a magical event.
Right.
And, there was a whole circle of men around her while she was dying. They, in their way, that was one of the things they wanted to do, and then all the rest of us could speak with her, each one. So it felt so good.
It's homegrown and natural, and
Yeah.
that's the ways of, the old ways of dealing with a dying person. And, right through to whether they're going to be buried or cremated. Mm-hmm. I mean, that process could, a week long. It's the old way is really so special, and we don't talk about it. I mean,
that's right.
I'm not talking about you dying, or I don't talk about me dying.
Uh-huh.
But I stood on a street corner recently, and I just looked at all the people, and I thought, well, how many of these people are dealing with a death, or a beloved that's mm-hmm. dying, and we all deal with it. Mm-hmm. We just don't talk about it.
Right, and it's built into our life here.
And it comes as kind of a shock towards the end when we do deal with it.
That's right.
Have to deal with it. That there's no experience.
Right, so it's not like the elders are teaching the youngers how to do this, but we need to be having that kind of communication. So that's one reason I'm so glad you're on our show today, to talk about that journey, how it was for you, maybe what you learned. Like you said, one thing you learned is the value and importance of calling in.
Communicating.
Community, communication, networking. And maybe, as you found, you didn't know how vast the community of support was until you called out for it.
Yeah.
And then it did show up.
And that's part of what the design of the book is.
And this is the book, Marley Rides.
Mm-hmm. It's the story of Marley's last 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. But it's just a backdrop for how to live and die well. I mean, here's one example. Here's what we went through. So, how to network is a new one.
Well, why don't you talk to us about that? Because a lot of people may not know how to do that. Maybe you had experience before with that. I don't know.
Just reaching out.
Okay.
And that's something that we're trained really well not to do.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm an independent woman. I can muscle
My
through
kid,
this
I'll
one.
deal. Right.
No cry, Yeah. And that's so far away from what feels good and what we want to do. When I hurt, I would much rather be with somebody who can hold me.
That's right.
And we have to remember that. Have to reach out.
That's right. And you had an unusual aspect of the reaching out, because at the time that Marley was diagnosed, you and your husband had separated, right? Mm-hmm. And he was in another relationship and had been for several years, and you had separate lives. You were separate pretty much, except trading kids every other week or whatever. Yep. So then part of your networking, it sounds like, was bridging that gap and being there with each other as all supporting Marley.